This is a little film which looks at what the role of Appledore might be on our courses in Devon. That picture that you can see there is of the Prudence. It was painted by Mark Myers, who Grenville and I went to interview at the Maritime Museum, and it shows the ship in Barnstaple next to the Long Bridge. It's a painting that I always show on day one of our courses in Barnstaple, so that the students can see what it used to look like back in 1590. It hangs in the Maritime Museum, and it's a very interesting thing to get the students to contemplate about what life was like at that time. And there's been a campaign for the last few years to raise £2 million to have a replica of this ship built on the Strand, which would be a huge attraction for people coming to Barnstaple. So this may happen or may not, but still I think that the working with this painting is a good thing to do, and to actually share this story with the students. So this is a view looking at the Tor and Torridge estuary and Appledore, and this is a simple little matching ELT activity that you can do before the students go to Appledore and have it up on the screen. It's a nice little introduction.
Out in the river over there you can see a boat with the orange top right away. That's the Appledore lifeboat, and when we go round that side you'll be able to see it much better. It will be closer. And this one they keep in the water all the time. Shipyard is still working. Now many of the large cities near the sea around England used to have shipyards where they built ships. But today, if you want a large ship, it is much cheaper to go to Japan or to Korea. So many of our large shipbuilding yards have closed. But this small one here is still working. And there have been shipbuilders here for hundreds of years.
Okay, tell the person next to you what you've heard.
I heard a dog barking.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So fly.
Fly, and what was the fly doing?
Buzzing.
Buzzing, mm-hmm.
The frogs.
Frogs, and what were the frogs doing? What do frogs do?
Something like this.
Yeah.
So wet for the...
What do they do in your
Walk.
walk? Yeah? Sometimes in children's books it's usually croak, birds singing. Yeah? Do you know any other words to do with birds? What they would do? Yes, yeah, like singing. Do you know any other words? No? Twittering. You know, tweet. There's Twitter, there's social media, yeah, but that comes from tweet. Birds tweeting, yeah? Twittering.
The paper.
Okay, and now share what you've written with somebody.
Some bushes around, some prickly things, which I do not know what they're called. Dogs, the series with the people which are in front of it, and well, the hills. There are hills, I think,
An island. Some moon.
And then with the dogs, the same flying seagulls and other birds, bending of the trees and bushes, people walking along the.
What have you found? What have you written down there?
Grass, roofs, water, flowers, mud, trees, sky, cars, dogs, horses, fence, cables. Hay is the word for.
Yeah. What is this? What is it?
The office.
Is this the post office?
Yeah.
Post box, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Now, what are those letters there? What letter is that? E. And what's that?
R.
And what's that? Two. And what's that?
Crown.
Okay. So what do you think E is?
Edward.
Who has a crown in England? Who? Yeah. So E is Elizabeth. R is Regina, meaning queen. Regine. And 2 is good. So it's Elizabeth II. Take a photograph.
Hey everybody. My name's Owen. Obviously, our full-time coxswain is called Martin. I'm the station mechanic here, so part of my duty is to look after and maintain all the equipment that you can see. I believe you've been to Ilfracombe this week already? Yeah. Well, at Ilfracombe they've got what they call a Mersey-class lifeboat, and all the lifeboats in the Isle of Line are named after rivers. So at the moment they've got a Mersey at Ilfracombe, and when that boat gets replaced for a more modern boat, it will be called the Shannon class, named after the river Shannon in Ireland. All our volunteers come from various different trades and backgrounds. We've got a person that works in the local bar, so she serves behind the bar and serves as a waitress in the restaurant. We have design engineers that work in the local shipyard. We've got plumbers, electricians, just about you name it. We've got somebody from whatever walk of life you can think of.
How many lives do you save a day?
How many lives do you save? That's,
Maybe a week is better?
that's a very difficult one to answer because you never ever at the same day twice. Throughout the year, we probably rescue in excess of 12 to 15,000 people from the sea around the UK.
Like doing this job?
Do I like doing this job? If I didn't, I wouldn't do it. People on the other side of that, people say, do you ever get scared? And I've also told them, I said, the day I get scared is the day I give it up. Because if I've got that fear behind it, then I can't do my job properly. So at the moment, touch wood. Yes, I do enjoy it, and no, I don't get scared at the moment, but that time may or may not come. Hopefully not.
A toy like this. Now they're throwing money in there.
A możemy dawać jajce.
Hej, a to jest słowa to eura?
Ale może jeszcze jedno pełną kilku całkiem dobre.
Czemu nie? Jeni tam damy. Wszystkie ci japońskie. Jak ci głosa do krótka?
The end of the lifeboat slipway here in Appledore is a great place to bring students. I've done it twice, and it's really good to gaze at the horizon and contemplate what life might have been like there when the Vikings came, or when the explorers went out. And I'll come back to those two words, gaze and contemplate, a little bit later. But I've arranged talks here at the RNLI in Appledore twice with Andrew Littlejohn, who is happy to do this for us. Phil asked me for his phone number last year, but It's a very special place and worth trying out. We watched the film Tarka the Otter, and here's one called Otter's Holt. It's a nice picture of the otter. Puffins, yeah? And these are the bird that Tim was telling you about at Lundy Island. Puffins. Here in the windows, lots of people have here, proud to support the lifeboats. Yeah? So they have the sign. Yeah. So, what does it say?
Glimpse of view. No?
So?
Roman, even danke. It's a view on the sea.
It's a view. If you glimpse, you can have a quick look at something. Now, are there any views here? If we look, yeah. If we look down here, that's the view that you can glimpse. So it's called glimpse of view because there. So take a photograph of the glimpse of view, 102, and then take a photograph of here. So you've got a photograph of both things, yeah? So now take a photograph of that one. Great. At this moment, the guide might then dictate this short text, and the students would copy it into their notebooks. The guide at the horizon, at where the Vikings invaded, and where the explorers left from Bideford to go to America. And then what life must have been like all those centuries ago. In the lovely little Ursha Street in Appledore, a view of the estuary through a narrow gap in the houses, while some of the locals at us wondering what on earth was going on. And they fill in these gaps, glimpse, contemplate, stare and gaze. And then in the evening, the students can do the activity and tell the host families what happened in Appledore. And then the host families can see whether they got it right or not. Yeah? And should students be writing things down when they're on visits? That's a question that we can discuss.
Behind me is a fish and chip shop. It's called, you can see the name, the Royal Place, but it is spelled wrong. Place is Place, Royal Place. But the name of a fish like this fish is called a place. So they are playing with the name. It's the Royal Place, the Royal Place to come, and the Royal Fish as well. Playing with the words.
Ja was witam! They don't understand that.
He said, is that Ja was witam? Once more!
Ja was witam!
Very good.
Anyway, welcome to the Maritime Museum, the Museum of the Sea for the whole of North Devon. There's quite a lot of you, so it's best if you divide up into groups and go to different parts of the museum. If you have any questions, there's 2 or 3 people here who can probably answer your questions for you. If I can't give you the answers to your questions, I will make something up.
And here you can see that Prince Charles was here. Yeah? You see the picture of Prince Charles?
It's a long time ago.
Who came? When did he come here?
1984.
1984. So here's questions, things to find out. Here's boards and here's pencils. And you can find out the different rooms. Yeah?
Borrow some pens.
They ask downstairs, yeah? They might have... And here are the White Funnel Fleet. And here's landing at Clebelly, where we're just about to go to, because the ships used to come and then little boats went out to bring people to land. And there's a picture of Clebelly.
Very proud of being North Devon, from North Devon. My grandparents went on the Cardiff Queen, and there's a picture of them on the wall.
Your grandparents?
My grandparents. My grandparents, they were on them. So it was a big treat for my grandparents to go out, because they were hard-working farmers, but they got dressed up in their best clothes, and everyone enjoyed going on a steamer trip in Victorian times.
And here are the students filling in the worksheets in the museum. It's a great way of going around the museum, having little questions that they have to answer.
This sort of ship here, these are in the shipyard up there. Now you wouldn't think that because there's no water in the river now, you wouldn't think you would get ships like that up this river. But like 6 o'clock tonight, that will be full of water out there.
When we went to Lynmouth, and Tim told you about the lifeboat story, about them taking it over the hill, and this is the one that we saw in Lynmouth. Remember? Yeah? From 100 years ago. There you can see Lynmouth, 1899. And that was when they carried the lifeboat over the hill and then went over to South Wales. On the 12th of January 99, a horrible gale blew, and our lifeboat went to Porlock to save a helpless crew. Never had a storm so cruel swept our village by the sea, for the waves roll in like thunder, and the hills shook violently. Brave men crept to their firesides, and barred their doors that night. Children drew close together, and women trembled with fright. For hours the storm was raging, no sound of life was heard. It hushed all human voices with a silence still and weird. But hark, from out of the darkness a signal rocket fired, a call for the Lynmouth lifeboat the lifeboat men required. And barred doors were unbolted and timid hearts grew brave. A ship in distress, they murmur, to save from a watery grave. So now the students are going from one room to the next room and answering all the questions. You enjoying it?
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, it's fun. Appledore. I've lived in different places. I used to move around. But since I've lived in Appledore, my feet haven't left the ground. I've lived down here for 19 years. It's a beautiful place to be. There's nothing quite like living by the sea. I wake up in the morning, then stroll on down the street. They're also very friendly, the people that you meet. I take a seat on the bench to watch the boats go by. There are people there with fishing rods and seagulls in the sky. Everyone is smiling, old people holding hands. I look across the water to see the golden sands. Village life with fishing trips to whet your appetite. Little kids with crabbing lines waiting for a bite. Hello, how are you? Strangers will stop and say. Nice to see the sun is out. What a lovely day. Life isn't easy in Appledore. The sound of singing birds, no traffic jams or beeping horns. It's hard to put into words. If you haven't visited, why not come and see? For peace and tranquility, try Appledore on the Quay. Written by Tracy Curtis, the 9th of March 2014. And this is a charity shop, Uncle Wainwright's. And what a great place to bring students for a few hours to explore and to try to understand how a village works. Tide's in at the moment, and sound of lots of birds. It's a nice quay gift shop and gallery to have a look at. There's the good view of Fullerbrook Wind Farm over there. And sun almost up. Walter's Emporium, which raises money for the local library and Help for Heroes. So, here we are, going into Walter's Emporium, which is a charity garage sale.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Appledore. Do you understand what when I say the word charity?
Yeah.
Well, this is a charity shop, and it was initially opened to save our library from closure. Okay? So all the books you see, we sell, get money, and that keeps our library in the village and keeps the library going. We have saved quite a bit of money to modernise our library. So that's in the near future, plans are being drawn up to do that. The second charity that we do here is for Help for Heroes. Do you understand what I mean, Help for Heroes? It's the soldiers who are being wounded in Afghanistan and the ones who've been wounded in Iraq. And we try to get so much money maybe every 2 weeks, and then I send a check off to the establishment for Help for Heroes, and that money goes to rehabilitate them to get back into normal life again. Okay? So that's basically what this is all about in Appledore. This garage belongs to an author. You might have heard of him. He's called Nick Arnold. His books are sold all over the world. Those are 50 each. He writes books called Horrible Science.
We've seen the
lifeboat station, yeah.
And now we were to a museum.
Yeah.
So pretty okay.
Yeah. We try to keep our history in Appledore. This dry dock in here, over that wall, that was a shipbuilding yard, but now it's all empty. So we want to buy it and get sailing ships back in again for people to come and see.
Alright, where are you going to get the money?
Well, we go through the National Lottery, or what they call European funding, and we can get it through that.
Alright.
Eventually.
How long is this shop working?
3.5 years. We've been doing it now for 3.5 years. We've raised for the library in excess of £16,000, and for Help for Heroes about £8,000. So it's been very successful. Okay.
So we saw this ocean museum.
Have you enjoyed being in Appledore?
Well, a very nice museum. We saw a lot of models of the ships.
Yeah.
and some historical models of the ships and some ports, and we saw a little model how did you do made the ships.
Yes.
And
Well, when I left school, that was the place I started my working life, in that boatyard in there, in over the wall. And in my grandfather's time, they used to trade from that dockyard in there to Canada and bring back timber from Canada to make more ships in that boatyard. Appledore has got a very big history, maritime history,
Thank you.
of the sea.
I'm retired. I can do it now. My working life is finished. I am a lazy man.
So do you have any motivation to do this, except the soldiers and the charity?
The reason why I do this is because I believe most sincerely in the library. Secondly, I do the Help for Heroes because I was on active service in the 60s and my comrade and I were blown up by a bomb.
See what it says here?
He
Can
was
somebody
killed.
read it out?
I survived.
For Heroes.
Yeah.
And I do it
and
in his
friends
memory.
Of Appledore Library.
Yes. All the proceeds to Help for Heroes Fund and the Friends of Appledore Library. Interesting shop, wasn't it?
Very
You find it?
Very interesting things to look at in the sea green, Appledore. Lots of sea things recycled. The bookshop raises money for book relief, a charity. As it says here, a great British tradition. Yeah. Traditionally fried, and if your tummy rumbles, fill it with fish, and they're always nicely filleted at Sylvester's. One thing that we've got now in our course journal is the associations that students have with Britain when they hear the word Britain. One thing that always comes up is the Queen and the monarchy, but another thing that always comes up is fish and chips. And Appledore is a good place, would be a good place to taste some fish and chips. But in class to also work with fish and chips and the origins of fish and chips. This is a shop in Exeter, the Real Food Store, and they had a poster campaign connected to migration, and said without, one of the posters was, without immigration there's no fish and chips. Fish and chips were introduced to Britain, fried fish in the 17th century, from fried fish from Spain and Portugal, and the chips probably from France or Belgium. But the point is that we can work with these themes in very interesting ways, challenge students' stereotypes, and really deepen their understandings of Britain.